Talk with Author Dre Lett is a show that informs, inspires, and motivates. All shows are taped in front of a live virtual audience. Make sure to follow us so you can be notified when a new show is available on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Also follow us if you want to be a part of our live tapings. Grab your beverage and snacks, get comfortable so we can let's talk. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk. I am your host, Author Dre Lett. This is the show where we inform, inspire, and motivate you during these tough times and beyond. So come on in the virtual room and have a virtual seat so we can let's talk. You guys can view my shows on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And here shortly, we will be going live on Instagram and YouTube in the upcoming weeks. I'm still super excited about that. Make sure you hit like and follow. I'm so glad to be back. Today is Friday, June 20th, 2025, and I missed all of you. I hope y'all missed me too. And so tonight, let's talk about women lifting each other up. My special guest is Nadira Lewis. She's an author, a mentor, and a businesswoman. She'll be on the virtual stage shortly to share some good things with us. We also have tonight hot topics. Yes, indeed, some great things to talk about. But first, we want to take a listen to a brief message from our sponsors. And when we come back, I want to give my shout outs to my Let's Talk fam. Those of you that are watching the show live, as you know, I always like to say hello. Please make sure you put in there where you are tuning in and watching the show from and your name so I can give you a proper shout out. And if you're afraid, I get it, but if you're not and you're watching this in a pre-recording phase, make sure you put in the comments, and I always go back and check the comments. Okay. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes after we hear this brief message from our sponsors. All right. This book is about one man's journey about the trials and tribulations of dealing with a disability and making poor choices. Read how he beat the odds. Purchase this tell-all inspiration story about Dr. Benny T. Davis Sr.
Order your book today. Tell All, I'm Not That Way Anymore, by yours truly, Dr. Benny T. Davis Sr.
Are you feeling discouraged? Do you need biblical guidance? Well, we've got just the book for you. Diving Deep in a Busy World has 26 Bible study sessions for everyday people written by author Michael A. Jones. This book has study devotionals that are filled with insights and principles to help you grow in your faith journey in Jesus. This book allows you the autonomy to study at your own pace and allow God to lead and guide you. God's desire is that you study and understand the Bible, grow deep in studying your faith, love, and relationship with Jesus. Purchase this book on Amazon. It's reasonably priced. Diving Deep in a Busy World by Michael A. Jones. Welcome to another production by DTL Productions, a leading multimedia company. Are you looking to advertise your product, service, or cause? Do you have a presence on social media? The modern way to advertise is through social media. It brings brand awareness, allows you to reach your target audience, and is cost effective. Advertising on social media will boost your sales, engage your audience effectively, increase awareness, and encourage active participation. Let us create a social media ad for you. Check out these videos produced for our past clients who were extremely satisfied with their results. Scan the QR code or email us at drelett@dtlproduct.net. Contact us. You won't be dissatisfied. All right, you guys, that was a message from our sponsors. You know how I am on entrepreneurship. Please, please go out and support them. Entrepreneurship is everything, right? Okay, so let's get in to see who is watching live with us. And again, I appreciate you guys coming back. I took a little break, had a nice little break there. So we are back rocking and rolling. All right, speaking of rocking and rolling, rocking Richard Houston. Hello, sir. How are you? So glad you could join us tonight. And we've got one of the show producers, hubby. He says he's watching from the man cave. Mwah, I love you, babe. Thank you for your love and support. Appreciate you. And my cousin from Vegas. Oh, I love my Let's Talk fam. Yes, she says she's welcome back from sabbatical. Everyone in Las Vegas checking in. Yes, indeed. Is it hot out there? I know here in Atlanta, it's supposed to get up to 3 digits this weekend. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. So I'm wondering if you guys are getting into any of that heat, because let me know. All right. And there's quite a few of you watching live as well. And I know you probably don't want to say hello. You're kind of shy. I totally, totally get it. It's all good. I thank you for your love and support. Anywho. So let's get into some hot topics. Oh my gosh. It's so much going on, right? And as you guys know, I never want to talk about politics because I don't want to end up in a prison in El Salvador. Okay. I'm being serious. I just don't. So I'm going to stay away from politics because we all know what's going on with all that stuff, right? So, but one thing you may or may not know is according to NBC News, Tyler Perry, yes, Tyler Perry is joining the list. I can't believe this. Tyler Perry has been hit with sexual harassment allegations in a $260 million lawsuit. Actor Derek Dixon has sued Tyler Perry for $260 million, alleging repeated sexual harassment and assault. The lawsuit claims Perry made unwanted advances. He groped Dixon and used career opportunities to manipulate him. Dixon even said that he was in the bed. I guess he spent the night at his house because it was too late. They'd been drinking. And according to Dixon, he it's not funny, but I guess he rolled over and allegedly Tyler Perry was in the bed behind him. Anyways, he says that Dixon says he's feared losing roles if he didn't comply, and that Tyler Perry would become more aggressive when ignored. Perry, of course, denied all allegations, calling the lawsuit a scam. Oh my goodness, what do y'all think? Y'all put in the comments, please. What do you think? Um, this is my personal opinion. I will say it's been a hot season on the Me Too movement, right? Um, but I will say that sometimes powerful people often feel untouchable. While some claims may be false, some people might just be after a money grab or money bag. But cases like Diddy's and now Fat Joe, the rapper Fat Joe, these things can happen if the accusations are untrue, right? Why do celebrities continue to keep putting themselves in risky situations, right? If you know you're this powerful person, you got all this money, and you know that people can get at you and make false accusations. Why are you sending text messages? Why are you taking pictures? Why are you doing these things that can set you up for, a bad situation? But I will say this for those that are telling the truth, and we'll find out in court and all of that. I pray for the victims. Sometimes people be so quick to say, oh, he's lying, or oh, she's lying. And they forget that there's somebody really hurting that really truly did go through that. So, um, again, I pray for the victims, and too many rush to defend, fame over facts. So, ooh, this is gonna be interesting. But $260 million, like, come on, that's a lot of money. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, guys. So, what do you guys think about that? Let me check my comments and see if anybody's said anything. Yeah, okay. So, Richard is saying. He said, I need to see proof before I can make a decision. I totally agree. Let him have his day in court, right? Let him have his day in court. Now, there is a guy, his name is Christian Keys, and Christian Keys came out and he said that a big time Hollywood producer, filmmaker, a billionaire, was messing with him. And he said, I remember watching him go live because we went to the same college. So I'm always watching all his stuff. But he said that if we heard the voice, because he recorded the person on the phone saying these things to him, he said, if we heard the voice, we would instantly know what person this is. Now, a lot of speculation has been that it was Tyler Perry. Now, there's no proof of that, but that allegation just kind of went in the wind. I don't know what's going on with that, but it does make you kind of wonder. I mean, I pray for both parties. I don't know who's lying, but I pray that the truth does come out. I agree with you, Richard. It's something. And then Carla, she says sometimes the flesh still rule over thoughts. Yeah, that's true, Carla. You're right. Maybe with all that money, they're just not thinking clearly, and they're just like, look, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do, and who you gonna tell, child? Woo, I tell you, this is getting to be crazy. All right, so moving on to the next hot topic, you guys. This next hot topic basically is according to Google's AI overview, right? I'm getting into AI, right? I don't know about you guys, but I love AI. It could be good, it could be bad. I like that it's good, and that whenever I'm searching for Google, I don't got to search for an hour to try and find something. Their AI overview just pops up what you're looking for. So I had heard that Nelly and Ashanti had a new reality show. So I went in Google and I put it in, and lo and behold, yes, they do. Nelly and Ashanti, this according to Google's AI, the show is called Nelly and Ashanti, We Belong Together. It premieres on Peacock on June 26th. The 8 episode series will offer a personal look into the rekindled romance, their journey into newlywed life, and their experiences as new parents. Oh, I cannot wait. I love them as a couple. What do y'all think? Reason why I like them as a couple, because every time you see them, unless they're good fakers and good actors and actresses, every time you see them on social media, they're always so happy. They're laughing, they're cracking jokes, they're enjoying life. And I just think they're so cute. I'm here for it. We need more positivity. So much negativity out there, right? So much. All these negative things that you're hearing, but something positive as an acute love story like that. I'm here for. I'm gonna watch it. What do you guys think? Are y'all gonna check out that show if you can? Um, yeah. Oh, okay, going back to the first topic, Mark says Satan is at work. I know, right? Oh my God, we are living in the last days. It's so much going on. Oh, it's so much going on. And that's why we need positivity like that Nelly and the Shawnee show for sure. And then this is the next hot topic that I came across that I thought was kind of interesting. So, a lot of you guys out there, you go on cruises. And as you know, we've had some comedians on the show that are comedians on cruises. And I thought this was kind of crazy, but just an FYI for those of you. So, for those of you who routinely cruise on Carnival Cruises, you might want to listen to this one. According to Forbes magazine, Carnival Cruise Line is replacing its 13-year-old loyalty program with a spend-based system, requiring customers to spend $33,000 and $33,000 and $334. So every 2 years to maintain a top tier diamond status. This shift from rewarding long-term loyalty to focusing on recent spending has upset many loyal cruisers who feel they're losing hard-earned perks. So that is a lot. You only can get rewards if you spend $33,000. Wow. So critics argue the change ignores emotional loyalty and may push high value customers toward competitors like Royal Caribbean, a region who could capitalize by offering more accessible loyalty benefits. All these, and so my personal opinion is all these companies are reducing perks, etc. At the end of the day, do what's best for your wallet and make sure you read the fine print on everything, because that's a lot. You got to spend $33,000 before you can earn points. Come on. That's a lot. So you guys make sure you look at that. For those of you that are always on Carnival cruises, I have yet to go on one. I keep saying I'm gonna do it. I am. I've been on cruise before, but a European cruise, but I got to do one in the Caribbean, in the States, so to speak. So yeah, y'all read that fine print. That ain't no joke. I'm gonna see if there's some more comments here on that. So far, no. We're gonna give it another minute before we move on to the next segment here. And it looks as though everybody's kind of quiet tonight. I'm sure y'all gonna start talking when when my guest comes on here. So, you guys, speaking of which, Nadira, let me go ahead and give her a formal introduction. I'm so excited to have her on. We're both roller skaters, and I didn't know her, and she approached me at roller skating, and she said, "You got a show, and I got a show," and we just started talking, and we just clicked, and she asked, we said we would do something together, collaborate. And so it's been a while. I don't know if it's been a year or 2 years, but finally we've been able to get our schedules together. I'm so excited to have her on. So let me give you a formal introduction of her. Super awesome, awesome woman, I believe. So this is Nadira Lewis. She is a woman of God. She's a mother of six, ranging from ages 8 to 32. She's an author, a businesswoman, and a mentor. She empowers women to discover their purpose using her wisdom framework for purpose and alignment. As founder of the BWOP Wisdom Academy and the Sisterhood Check-In podcast, Nadira creates spaces for women to grow spiritually, gain clarity, and thrive through life's journey, guided by faith, wisdom, and real life lessons. Everyone, please help me welcome to the stage Miss Nadira Lewis. Hey, Nadira.
Hey, how are you?
How you doing?
I am
Thank you
doing
for
well.
coming on.
Thank you
Let's.
for inviting me.
Yes, yes. I remember. I don't know how long ago that was when you came up to me and we were like, we got to do something together. Was that about a year, 2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, it
I,
was about a year, about a little over a year. Yeah,
yeah.
about a little over a year ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that you're able to come on and just share some
thank
things with us,
you.
because it's a lot of people out there hurting, that's lost jobs, that lost spouses,
Mhm,
family members. Just there a lot of people out there going through
mhm,
a lot. And although the topic
mhm.
is lifting women up, there are also men that are going through things as well. And I would just love,
Yeah.
love, love you to share your knowledge and just, share some information with us. So let me get into these questions, girl. So, how do you assist individuals in uncovering and aligning with their true purpose? Like, what's the first step that you do when someone comes to you and they're needing help and they're hurting?
Well, the first thing I do is I show them the importance of understanding their identity in Christ first, because your purpose flows directly from your identity, right? And once you recognize your identity, then and your values and your talent, your unique talent, because everybody has something that God has placed on the inside of them, then what happens is then you can discern what you're supposed to do in life. So most of the frustration that people feel, both men and women, is because they're not settled in the place where they feel like they need to be. That's why you have people who are filled with all kind of talents and they're doing multiple things and they're not really feeling anchored, right? Because there's
Mm,
a part of them that really is seeking for what else? Okay, I've done this, now what? I've met my financial goals, now what? I lost my job, I did everything I thought I was going to do, now what? So I think it starts in the beginning with understanding why you are here. I think we tend to overlook the fact that we are here for a purpose, and though we may get to experience some of the things that we desire to do and the things that we want to do, even the things you feel like you've been skilled to do, we were created for God, right? For
mhm,
Him, for His purpose. And I think when we understand that at the core, then and we begin to operate from a place of our identity, our true identity. And I think that'll kind of settle some of the discouragement, you
Mhm.
know. That's some of the things I would basically say to somebody that comes to me, and some of the things that I do say when I am, coaching different people.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting because you're correct. Sometimes when we go through things, we ourselves aren't thinking clearly and we need somebody to say, "Hey, this is what you need to do," or "Here's some suggestions." I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. So
Hmm.
what pivotal experiences
Yeah.
led you to start your podcast and dedicate your life to helping others and to find their purpose? Like, what made you wake up one day and say, "You know what? I just want to help people and start a podcast."
Well, it was my own lack of wisdom, really. I had cycles in my life that was repetitive due to the decisions that I was making in my life.
Mhm.
And I felt like, man, I was in this cycle, I felt like, and it wasn't until I started to get around people that were literally speaking to the Nadira that I have yet become, right? They
Okay.
saw things that I didn't even see of myself, right? And I
Mhm.
thought, wow, that the things that people have imparted into me individually and collectively, directly and sometimes indirectly, I started to realize, man, if I can do that for somebody else, right?
Mhm.
And in the beginning, when when I started my podcast, I wasn't like, I was nervous, I was scared, but I was like, if I just get one person to just really just hear some of my experiences and maybe can take some lessons from that. I have been mentoring people since, gosh, 2010. And
Mm.
I've had, a mentoring program specifically for young girls in Jacksonville, Florida. And one of the things that I realized, that above all the things that I was trying to do, I thought, I was going to do it through the way I had been doing it, right? But I
Mhm.
realized that what God was calling me to do was bigger than just me doing it in one thing. It was just like I was kind of narrowing him down, like I'm supposed to do this in this area. And when just podcasting came along, I thought I could do that. I can do that. I'm a little
Uh-huh.
nervous. I'm be scared, but I can do that. And I've been doing it for 5 years, and I went through some ups and downs, and a lot of things going wrong. But I just kept doing it. And people started to tell me, like, wow, like how blessed they were from listening to my podcast. And I was like, wow, okay, so if I can just help one person, I started to
Mhm.
get excited about that. I started to get fulfilled because I realized that I was making an impact. And I think that's the part of the identity that I was tapping into, is that I realized that my life mattered, and all the things that I went through was not for anything. And I can use this platform as an opportunity to share the wisdom that I've learned in my life to help other people.
I love it. I love it. And you're right. I think when we're going through it, we don't want to go through certain situations, but God has to take us
Mhm.
through it so that we can turn back and
Mhm.
give and help others. That is so true. And
Yes.
I too, like you, for a lot of my viewers know, I started podcasting from my kitchen counter. And I started with
Mhm.
like two people watching, and the numbers keep growing. So, girl, I know all about it. But I'm a firm believer that if it's meant for you, that God wants you to do it, oh, it's gonna happen. He's gonna keep pushing you, right? He's gonna definitely keep pushing you to
Mhm.
do it. So
Yeah.
tell me, Nadira, what kind of advice would you give someone who has recently been laid off? Maybe
Mhm.
their family dynamic has changed in that maybe they went through a
Mhm.
divorce or they lost a loved one, and they can't get out the bed. They're just really depressed. What is the first thing? And
Mhm.
I know you mentioned some other steps earlier, but before they can get to you to say I need help, like, would you tell them to recite a prayer? Like, what is that first step to get them up out of that bed, to give them that energy to just keep pushing on? What would you say?
I would tell them to get in a place and get still, right? Get
Mm.
still, because there's so much there's so much that we get in the habit of doing all the time, that we don't take
Mhm.
the time to sit and be still and allow God to direct us, right? And
Mm.
allow God to use the thoughts, because we're always going. We're in, we, especially here in America, we're in the hustle and bustle. We trying to grind on a dime, we trying to do so
Yep.
much. But what I would suggest is take some time and just be still. The first
Mm.
thing in the morning, before you check your emails, before you check your phone, before your mind starts rattling, be still and
Mm.
take, if you don't have a lot of time, take 10 or 15 minutes to just be still and just listen, right? Just listen, because when you position yourself to in that place, then what happens is you don't even realize it, that you're opening yourself up for God, to invite God to come in and give you direction. The Bible says in James, right, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask God, right, who giveth
Mm.
to all liberally. He doesn't withhold it. The only requirement that he asks is that you ask in faith. Don't waver, because when you waver, your head is all over the place. You're not in a position to hear what he says. And why you're not in a position, God is always giving out instructions, right? He says,
Mhm.
man, in Job, he says, God speaks once, yea, twice, but man perceiveth it not, right? And the reason
Mm.
why there's no perception of direction, because you haven't taken time to sit still. Every morning
Mm.
I get up, I don't, my phone will start ringing. I'll think about everything I have to do. I sit and I just be still. I train
Mm.
my mind to be still. I train myself to be anchored from the core of me and not be manipulated by the rush of the day. Right. When I
Yes, yes.
started doing that, started to think clearly. And it's funny because even as I'm thinking, there's a scripture that says, commit your thoughts, commit your works unto the Lord, and your thoughts will be established. So we're looking for the next thing to do when we
Mhm.
really should be taking the time to be still and let
Mm.
God speak to us in the stillness of our heart. And you'll be surprised when you get done in that 15, 20 minutes, your whole day, you'll start opening up a door into, without even realizing, for him to direct you. And that's really what the stillness is to is to
Mm.
quiet your mind so that you can know what to do and how to go about that day.
I love that. That is so awesome because like you said, we're always rushing and hustling and bustling. And we're saying, oh, how do I handle this situation? But you're right. If you just be still, just say, Lord, speak to my heart. I love that record. Oh my goodness, I can't think of the guy who sings it, but speak to my heart, Holy Spirit, and just be
Speak to
still.
my Donnie McClurkin, I think.
Yes, Donnie
Speak to
McClurkin.
my heart. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's my record. That
Mm-hmm.
is so true. And I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of not sitting still the first couple of minutes. I'm guilty of hopping out the bed. I got to do this. Da, da, da. And you're right. We need to be more, I need to do more of that. That is wonderful. That is so
Mm-hmm.
awesome. What are some
Mm-hmm.
other suggestions that you would give, like I said earlier, that person? Because there's a lot of people that lost jobs, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first step. Be still. What would you get? What would be the next step that you would tell them to help start their day, to help them to stop, being so, I mean, they're going to be depressed, but to just help them lift their spirits, what would be the next step that you would recommend?
Oh, I love that question. Journal. You know,
Oh.
I heavily recommend journaling, because journaling, when you're going through, after you sat for 15, 20 minutes, a lot of the
Mhm.
stuff that goes through our heart and our mind, the worry and the anxiety, if we just take a few minutes, and this all can be done in less than 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what time you get up. Journaling helps you to get all of that anxiety out, because as you're
Mm.
writing, what happens is you can reflect and see after you're done, this is how much I'm carrying. So it's
Mm.
almost as if a visual way to see, this is what I'm carrying in my heart. When I journal everything that I'm feeling, everything that I'm experiencing, what happens is I get to see how much stuff I'm carrying, right? I get to see that I'm not capable, because if I'm in a point, if I'm at a place where I'm getting anxiety or depression is starting to overtake me, I get to see physically. Sometimes you just have to see it and look at it and
Mhm.
see what you're carrying in your heart. And I think when you do that, it kind of helps you to release it. And so
Yes.
as you're going throughout your day, it's a start. It's a start. It may seem irrelevant in the beginning when you first start doing it. Like, why do I have to do this? I don't feel like writing this. I don't feel like doing that. But I think the more we take charge over what happens in our mind, because we do have that capability of doing that. But if your mind is all over the place and you haven't practiced being still, you won't even realize how much stuff is going through your head, even about realistic things that you go through. It doesn't mean that
Mm.
it's going to make things go away quickly, but it
Yeah.
will position you at a place where you can hear, what do I need to do next? Because it was in those moments, Dree, that
Mhm.
I started to take a lot of the things that people see me do now. It didn't just come. It's always been there. I just never saw. I could never really tap into it because of my
Mm.
mind was all over the place. I got to do this. I got to do that. This is due in 2 hours. There was always
Mm.
this pressure to respond. And I realized it's a trick of the enemy. It doesn't mean that those things aren't going to be there after you do this, but it gives you your control back, right?
Mhm.
To where you can say, now, yes, I know this is going on. Yes, I may have lost my job, but these skills I did not lose. Yes, I may have this bill due, but it doesn't mean that God has given me the power to get wealth. So I have everything that I need pertaining to life and godliness. And because of that, even though I may have lost my job and be 100 different things I can list with that loss, all I need is one thought that tells me there's a possibility that I can take those same skills and apply it in another open door. All I need is, and
Mm.
if I can't find a door, I just need a window. But sometimes you can't find that window if you haven't taken the time to be still and allow him to guide your thoughts. Your thoughts will be established. That means when you begin to journal and get all of that stuff out and realize how much stuff you're carrying, now you can position yourself to write when God's put something in your spirit. Most of the stuff that I've created,
Mhm.
he put it in my spirit in those quiet moments. And
Wow.
so it was in those quiet moments I was able to take an impossible situation. I'll give you an example. I had something that needed to be taken care of within 2 days. And I literally felt like my hands were tied. And I felt like I'm doing everything that I could. I'm a widow. I have these children to take care of. What am I going to do next? Right? How am I
Mhm.
going to meet this obligation by Wednesday? And this was like a Monday. And I
Mm.
started to resort to what a lot of people do. I get in a fetal position, I lay on the bed, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to check out.
Oh.
And because I didn't want to deal with the weight of the responsibility and the pressure that was going to come from not being able to, the fear of not being able to meet that obligation. And I
Mhm.
promise you, and I tell this story all the time, I laid my head down.
Mm.
This time, after I started being still and journaling, in that one moment where before I wouldn't have heard it, I heard the Lord say to me boldly, get up and write.
Mm.
And I popped up out the bed and I got to my desk and I'm like, right, like in my mind, I'm like, right, what? He started to establish my thoughts. I wrote a course that day and made
Mm.
more than what I needed for just
Mm.
that day by following his leading, right? Because he said, trust in the Lord with all your heart and don't lean to your own understanding, but in
Understanding.
all your ways acknowledge him and he'll direct your
Mhm.
path. So sometimes we have this fear because our mind, like I said, is bombarded with all this stuff, and responsibility is really just a trick of the enemy, just to get you out of alignment, right?
Mm.
So that you're not in a position here. Because when you feeling like all over the place, you're like this, you know, you can't
Yes.
hear anything. That's why he said,
Mhm.
don't, when you ask him for wisdom, that's why he said, when you ask him, you got to ask in faith. Don't waver, because when you're all over the place, you are not in a position to even hear the instructions that you need to get out of that situation. So
Mm,
I would say journal, get quiet, train your mind to be still, train your
okay.
mind to be anchored, and then start writing. Get all of that stuff out, everything that you're feeling. And then you'll be amazed, because when you go back and look at the stuff that you've done, you can see where the growth has taken place. Because let me tell you something, people don't take note of when things change, because they're so
Mm,
used to doing. They're not even present to see I was all over the place in my mind yesterday, but I
mm,
applied these simple principles, and I realized when I got up today, my mind was still. And we
yes.
tend to like kind of overlook that. So when the
Mhm.
next rush of anxiety come, we resort back to where we
Mm,
was. So this is something that I'm not just shooting from the hip. It's something
yeah.
that I apply to my life daily, and it is created um some amazing results, to the point to where if you knew my background and you knew where I came from and you knew the mindset that I came from and you knew the mouth I had and you knew the thing, you would look at me and be like, this, there's no way this is the same person. But that's what happens when you take the time to just slow down. I know you got to
Mhm,
think 100 things you got to do tomorrow and you lost your job. Just slow down
mhm.
and give God an opportunity to be able to, because even if he told you what to do, if your mind is not still, you
You
won't,
can't hear it.
and it won't hold. You won't
Mhm.
hear it. So that's what I would tell people who are struggling with their, with not being able to, with being depressed and not feeling like, they don't know what to do because of their job. That would be my instructions.
And it's so crazy that you say that. It's not crazy, but I totally agree because that has happened. I was in a situation similar. I didn't lose my husband, but I was, my first marriage, it was bad. And I just remember laying there thinking, I don't know what to do. And God told me, get up
Mhm.
out that bed, do what you need to do to make preparations to leave and seek out your life. And I remember saying, but Lord, I got these two kids, it's just me. And I remember God speaking to me
Mhm.
so loud, saying, don't worry about that. I
Mhm.
got you. And do you know, I did
Mhm.
everything that He told me to do. Not only was I
See?
happier, but I met my current
Mm.
husband, a much happier, better husband,
Mhm.
better man, all of that. And I
Mhm.
agree with
Mhm.
you that when
Mhm.
you just shut it down and just listen. And maybe it is kind of divine intervention that you're laying in that bed, because as you're laying in the bed, you're able to listen. So
Mhm.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. That's
Yes.
it right there. So let me ask you this. I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in there at you, okay?
Okay. Okay.
What about
Okay. I've been
those?
thrown
Yeah.
into one or two before.
What about those people that don't have a relationship with God, that don't know God? What would you suggest?
I'm glad you asked. I was wondering when you were going to ask that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, my instructions will still be the same. I
Okay.
have a young lady that I've been really like really just just trying to exemplify that in front of her, because she has that same thing. There's doors are closing everywhere. She doesn't know. She's a
Mm,
mother of two, and she's not
mhm,
sure, and that doesn't change. It is not a circumstantial tip. It is the way of
mm,
life. And she says, but I don't believe what you believe. And I let her
mm,
express what she felt. I don't believe what you believe. I don't really have a relationship. I don't think it's necessary. She gave me all of her reasons why.
mm,
And I listened to her. And
mhm.
I said, so how's that working out for you?
Ooh.
You came to me and you approached me because you said, not me.
Mhm, mhm,
You said, and this is what I said to her. You said when you saw me and you came encounter with me, there was something about me that you felt like the need to connect. And that was out of your mouth. And she said, "Yeah." I said, "So, if I tell you this is how I became the person that I am, wouldn't you want to at least listen to what I have to say?
Ooh, that's deep.
I never really thought about that. She said, I never really thought about that. I said, when somebody, and I learned this from a guy that was younger than me when I was like in my 30s, he was mentoring me and he was like 20 something years old. And
Mm,
he said to me, he said, when you come in the midst of somebody that has wisdom or that is great, you always carry a notebook and a pencil, or you bring out
mm,
your phone. He said, because it shows that if that person is taking time to share with you their wisdom, you do them an injustice by not taking notes. You are not.
mm.
And I thought, I never forgot that. And so I
Wow.
said to her, you came to me. I didn't seek you out. You came to me and you said, there's something about you, right? That drew you to me, right? So if the witness of man is great, then the witness of God is greater.
Ooh.
So if I'm telling you this is how I got to where I am, and you tell me I don't want that, then you're subconsciously and ignorantly saying, I don't want to change. I want to do things my way. And let me tell you what I read to her as a result of that. This isn't
Okay.
my words. In Romans chapter 1, it says, because that when they knew God, they glorify him not as God, right? These are people that
Mhm.
everybody has some sort of idea or realize that there is. They may call him different things, but they have some sort of understanding of that there's somebody above them.
Right.
He said they glorified him not as God, neither were they thankful. Most people don't even understand how important it is to be grateful, right?
Mhm.
For where you are, what you have now. He said, but they became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. So most people who don't take the time to hear wisdom, they can't identify it when they see it because their hearts are darkened, whether it's through
Mm.
depression, whether it's through anxiety. But if God places somebody in the midst of you and you see even a glimmer of light,
Mhm.
wouldn't it make sense if you were in a dark tunnel and you saw a little bit of light? It's not even, you don't have to be a theologian to understand this, right? It's just
Right.
sometimes common sense. If I see a little bit of light, wouldn't you
Mhm.
walk towards that light or would you
Absolutely.
stay in that tunnel? So
Mm.
sometimes it's not about how much you know, it's just about who you know. And so when I said that, she said, I never really thought about it like that. And I said, yeah,
Mm.
I know you didn't. That's why I'm telling you.
I know
So yeah,
that's right.
that's what I would say. I don't put a
Okay.
lot of energy into knowing it all. I
Mhm.
just put more energy into into what makes sense, right?
Yes.
What makes sense. And it makes sense that if you don't know God and things are happening in your life that cause you to feel like I don't want, then if you're coming to me for advice, then it's almost like you're asking for a bandage, but you won't take my bandage. You asking for me to heal, to give you something that's going to help you, but you don't like it because the band-aid is pink.
Right. That's crazy. Right.
So you're going to bleed out, or you're going to take my advice because I am equipped and I have what you need to get you to a place of stability where you
Mhm.
can go to the next thing. I make some plant, some water, but God gives the increase. I may be just there just to plant. I
Yep.
may be there just to water, but the increase in understanding, the increase in being able to put things into practice comes with God giving you the understanding of what a person has sown or watered what somebody else has sown.
I know that's right. And if you keep doing the things your way and you're not getting any results, duh. Come on now. Try something different. Listen up. Oh my goodness.
Sometimes
So
it's just
tell
that
us
simple.
that part. So tell everybody about your podcast. I mean, it's Sisterhood Check-In Podcast. What is
Yes.
that like? Is that just saying y'all come and listen and everybody chime in on what you're going through? What is that podcast like?
So sisterhood check-in was something that God gave me 5 years ago when I just wanted to that desire, right? To be able to help women check in, because sometimes you need, like we were talking yesterday, sometimes you just need somebody to just say, hey,
Mhm.
you okay? You good? So sisterhood
Mhm.
check-in is a podcast that gives me the opportunity to be able to check in with people. Sometimes the check-in could just be, hey, how you doing? you
Mm.
know how are you? How are things really?
Mhm.
And it gives me an opportunity to leave a door open for me to coach them in a
Awesome.
particular. So if they are saying, yeah, I'm doing good, but girl, sometimes it's just, and this gives me an opportunity to say, hey, can I suggest something to you? Can I share with you something that I've learned? Because I know everybody's not going to ask for help.
That's so true.
They're just not. But if I check in
Mhm.
with you, and you might have a business, you might have something going on for yourself that may be working for you, but you might feel like, again, like I said earlier, there's something missing. There's something that I want to share that I've either experienced that helped me, or something area of my life where I need help. Gives me us the opportunity to just dialogue and just have a conversation and give people an opportunity to listen in to our conversation, because we don't know who's listening that may not be able to ask the help. They may be in an abusive relationship. They
Oh,
may
yeah.
be in a toxic relationship. So I like to talk about things that, if that is the case, because I have been in an abusive relationship before,
Mm.
an abusive marriage for 15 years. And
Mm.
so I understand there, if I wish I had this back
Yes.
then, because it would have helped me to decipher which way to, which what to do, how to process through the mental anxiety that I was feeling. And so that sister check-in is basically just an opportunity for me to just catch up with everyday women and just say, hey, how is life? How's everything going with your
Mhm.
life, your personal life, your marriage, your business? What can I do to support you, in doing that?
Mhm.
And so it's just really like an open conversation on a podcast, really.
I love it. I think that is awesome because, too often we open up social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram,
Mhm.
and we see all these pictures. Everybody's posted up smiling. I'm on this vacation. I bought this car. I'm this and that and the other. But
Mhm.
really, you really don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? That person could be going home, like you said, in an abusive
Mhm.
relationship, or they have a substance abuse, or
Mhm.
but all you see, my husband has this saying, he always says it's Facebook, right? Meaning
Mm.
everybody's life look wonderful on social media, but you really don't know what's going on. So
You
I
really
think that's
don't.
awesome. That is
You
awesome to
really
be able
don't.
to check in and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. That's so
Mhm.
true. That is so
Yeah.
true. Looking through the comments here, do you guys have any questions for Nadira? She is amazing. You guys, please let me know. And also, Nadira, a lot of people will watch the show like when they're cleaning house on a Saturday or Sunday. So
Mhm.
throughout the week, the views and the activity it builds up. So make sure you go back and peek at it and see. But
Definitely.
I think that she is amazing. The things that you're doing are awesome. So my last question for you, ma'am, would be what's next for you now? You a mentor, businesswoman, author, podcast, you got all this stuff going on. You girl, you bad. What's the
Mhm.
next thing that you want to conquer and do?
I just want to just take it one day at a time. I don't want to, we all have things that we desire to do, right?
Mhm.
I just want to take it one day at a time, because I've been through the rush of, I want to do this, I need to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do that. And that just sometimes bring more anxiety, right?
Yeah.
So what I do is I just want to cultivate where I am, right? Because I
Okay.
think when you take time to cultivate where you are, sometimes you're rising above and don't even realize you're growing, right? And your growth is taking you higher, right? So to me, I don't want to, of course there's a lot, a ton of things that I want to do personally and business wise, but I realize that I just want to cultivate what God has given me, and not look to just meet the, check off every little thing. I realize
Mhm.
that life does not consist in the abundance of things. So I just want to be able to cultivate my life as a mother, right?
Awesome.
Um, I want to be able to cultivate and be a good steward over the wisdom that God continues to give me. And I just want to be found faithful in what he's given me. That's it. I just want to be found
Amen.
faithful. I teach the stuff that I tell everybody on Sisterhood Check-In. If you just knew the private conversations I've had with my children, and I am basically realizing that, I don't need to be great in everybody else's eyes. I just want to be found faithful with what he's given me. And as I
Mm.
continue to be faithful over the little, we all know he's going to make me ruler over much. So I'm learning how to be faithful in the finances that I have. I'm learning how to be faithful as a parent. I'm learning how to be faithful in what he has put in my hand, because at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to matter is not how much you've made, how much you've done. At the end of the day, if you take everything from me, which I have been in the place at ground zero, and you can't take my ability to be anchored in my identity, I'll create it all over again.
Mhm. I know
So
that's right.
I'm content, not complacent, because I think there's a difference.
Mhm.
Being complacent means you're just, I'm content in who I am. And so I know as I continue to cultivate the things that God has put on the inside of me, the some things are just obvious. I'm going to grow. I'm going to excel. I'm going to be, my gift is going to make room for me and bring me it's going to do that, because if I don't cultivate where I am now, when he
Mhm.
does bring me to that point, my character will not keep me there.
Ooh,
So, yeah. So that's pretty much what my
I
plan
love it.
is.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. So you got to tell everybody, how can they reach out to you if they need to be mentored by you, the Sisterhood Check-In podcast, because you are definitely a great resource to have, in my opinion. Please tell everyone how they can reach out to you.
So you can go to coachingwithnadira.com. Everything I do and everything that I have, all of my resources, all of my programs I have right now. I've just opened up the the Becoming a Woman of Proverbs Wisdom Academy. And with the Wisdom Academy, it allows you, whether you're working out or whether you're doing, whether you're at work, it just allows you to just kind of tap into, like, you know, um, wisdom bites is what I call them, like wisdom bites. So every week I'm uploading constant things concerning wisdom. One of the last ones I just did is how to build a framework around your why. Then that can
Mm,
be whether in business or it can be just in your personal life. So I am addressing wisdom in a lot of the areas that maybe people don't even know, that they don't even know how to bring up a question about it. So
mm,
if they sign in, if they actually become a part of the Wisdom Academy, they can get sound bites of wisdom that I upload on a weekly basis. So and then,
okay.
like I said, I have books. I have this one book that I had showed you earlier is called Don't Die in the Storm.
I
This is
love
my
it.
latest book that I've actually created. I got it right here. My latest book that I've created to help people through mental and emotional um
Mm,
trauma, like how to navigate, and this doesn't replace therapy. This doesn't replace, you being able to, this helps you alongside of that, right?
okay.
And so this basically gives you this, because I believe most of the people that have gotten this book have come back to me and like, you have no idea how much that has helped me, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
this book is basically a guide to overcoming the stress of mental and emotional adversity, the things that we deal with in our mind that we don't always want to put words to or even have the words to put to. So this kind of walks you through a practical way of how to get through that. So most of the books and journals that I have are geared towards the mind, because that's where the real battlefield is. So everything that I do, everything that I create is how to be able to navigate through those pockets in your mind that nobody sees, right?
Mhm.
But everybody wants a way out. They just don't know how to act, because you don't want people looking at you a certain way. You don't want people boxing you up in a certain way. So this is the resources and books that I've created, and even the programs I have, is geared around helping you to navigate through the mind.
I love it. I love it. Well, Nadira, I thank you so much for coming on. And I know you asked me to come
You.
on your show. So, girl, I'm going to come
Yes,
support.
yes. Yes, I
And
will
I,
send you, just send me your dates, and
yes,
we'll go from there. And I do have a
awesome.
show broadcasting tonight at 10 o'clock. So for those
Okay.
of you that that want to watch it live, you can watch it. You can go to sisterhoodcheckin.com and
Okay.
access it right from there, or you can just go to Coaching with Nadira. There's a link to that links directly to the podcast. Is broadcasting on all the platforms, and so yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, Nadira. I appreciate you
Thank
so much.
you.
And I will be in touch. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, and
Okay.
thank you for having me.
Yes. Have a good evening.
You
Okay.
too.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. You guys, that was awesome. That was Nadira Lewis. Thank you so much for coming on Let's Talk. I'm always looking for people that are willing to come on and share anything that's going to inform, motivate, or inspire. So she's doing awesome things. You guys make sure you go out and support her, please. So I'm going to leave you with this positive thought as we end out the show. It feels so good to be back. But I want to let you guys know, going back to what Nadira was talking about, when you're feeling low or discouraged, also another scripture you can read is Psalms 127. It's a powerful reminder that true success and peace comes from God's guidance, not just our own efforts. Whether building, protecting, or raising a family, lasting fulfillment comes from trusting in His provision. This scripture always calms my spirit. So that's another scripture you can seek out and read to keep you going during these turbulent times. Always remember, I tell you guys, remember how to survive in 2025. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Okay. Do one good thing for one person each day, and you can affect 365 lives. If no one's told you they loved you, know that I love you. You guys stay safe out there, and we'll see you back next Friday. All right. And with those words, I'm out.